Hey, what's up, people? Pizzal here, and today I want to talk to you guys about the new Arrow Video Limited Edition Blu-ray release for 1982's Basket Case. Now, this is partially going to be a review of the movie as well as a review of the Blu-ray. I will try to keep the movie review part kind of brief because this Blu-ray is absolutely loaded, and I don't want you guys to have to sit through a half an hour video because there is that much on this Blu-ray to sink your teeth into. But I've always been fascinated by Frank Henenlotter, the director of Basket Case. It was his first feature film. He did it for $35,000. It is a combination of horror, body horror, sleaze, even kind of tongue-in-cheek. It's satirical. It's all over the place. But it's Frank Henenlotter. And when you say to someone in the know, what kind of movie is this? And they say it's Frank Henenlotter. You know exactly what this... You needn't say more. You know exactly what to expect. Because Frank Henenlotter has sort of created a subgenre uniquely his own. Movies that are sleazy, but sleazy in a good-natured kind of way. They're body horror-ish movies. They certainly have their tongue firmly implanted in cheek. They're comedic. They're typically pretty over the top with the blood and gore and in those departments. But there's also a certain intelligence with all Frank Henenlotter movies. You certainly see the material is coming from a very twisted but very intelligent mind, put it that way. And Basket Case is about a young man named Dwayne who travels to New York City with a wicker basket and a dream. That dream is to seek bloody vengeance against the quack doctors who separated him from his conjoined twin Belial, and in the wicker basket that he carries with him is Belial. And Belial is a very angry, very bloodthirsty little guy. He's basically a head with some really sharp teeth, arms with some really sharp fingernails, and that's about it. And he's not very pleasant to look at or to be around, quite frankly. And Basket Case may be the last great horror movie to capture that New York urban squalor, 42nd Street sleaze kind of look and feel, that grindhouse, that 70s grindhouse kind of look and feel. The movie was shot in downtown New York City on 42nd Street, and it just... You can almost smell the vomit. You can almost, you know what I mean? The atmosphere of the film is phenomenal. I love movies set in New York City around that time frame. There's just that sense of urban squalor with all the, the sex shops and the peep shows lined up along 42nd Street, and the drug dealers coming out of the shadows like, hey man, I got this, I got that. You want to get high? You want to get low? The prostitutes, fishing for a client, winos and hobos and drug addicts. And it's just, the streets are alive. They're alive with the sound of, not music, other sounds. But I love movies with that kind of look and feel. And Basket Case has that look and feel in absolute spades. Henenlotter knows how to make sleaze kind of, like I said, a good-natured kind of sleaze presented in bad taste, but an intelligent form of bad taste. This is a movie that clearly is not taking itself in any way, shape, form, or fashion seriously. And for $35,000, Frank Henenlotter definitely got the best bang for his buck out of Basket Case. The acting in the film overall is pretty good. The effects in the film overall are pretty good. But it's the story here. It's just the weird. It's just Frank Henenlotter. That's the best way that I can describe it. You have this weird relationship between Belial and Dwayne in which they sort of share the same consciousness. They share, even though they're detached, they're still, it's almost as if being detached, they're closer now. And that whole relationship is just very Frank Henenlotter. The characters in the film are all very, they're very over the top. They're very eccentric. They're very weird. They're very Frank Henenlotter. The blood and gore in the film is very over the top. Very Frank Henenlotter. It's a Frank Henenlotter movie. That's the best way I know how to describe Basket Case. It's a cult movie, and that is absolutely worthy of its cult status. It's a movie that I remember watching it the first time and just not really getting it. I don't remember if I rented it or if I saw it on late night television, USA Up All Night or something like that. But I just remember thinking there's a lot of movies out there a lot of different kinds of movies out there, put it that way, coming from the school of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and the popular series, the franchise series of that time and discovering Basket Case. It opened my eyes to there are other kinds of movies out there. And of course that classic cover art there for the VHS release of the film. That's actually for the Betamax, but the VHS was pretty much the same. Just iconic. If you grew up in the 80s in the horror section of the video store, as much as I did in the mid to late 80s and mostly the early to mid 90s, you became very, very accustomed to that artwork. That's some great artwork there. All of the artwork for the Basket Case films, 1 through 3, particularly the first two, are just iconic in my book. When I think of, the horror section of the video store, there's just images of the VHS cover arts rush to my mind, and Basket Case is definitely among them. I could go on rambling about Basket Case for another 15 or 20 minutes probably, but I want to cut this brief because there's so much to dig into in the Blu-ray release. If you've not seen Basket Case, by all means, you should go out and check it out. I do recommend it. I can't compare it to anything. If you've not seen a Frank Henenlotter movie, then there's nothing else to compare it to. You just have to go and experience it and introduce yourself to the world of Frank Henenlotter. If you are a fan of Basket Case, you definitely want to look into this Arrow limited edition Blu-ray release because they have absolutely rolled out the red carpet for this release. It is chock full of extras. It literally took me 2 days to claw my way Belial style through all of these extras. There's so much on this release if you are a fan of Basket Case to sink your teeth into. As far as the picture quality and the sound quality are concerned, this is a 4K restoration of the 16 millimeter negative. The movie looks fantastic. The movie sounds fantastic. I would give the picture quality easily a 4, maybe even a 4.5 out of 5. If you saw this movie on VHS, then it looked rough. It was very much that 16 millimeter. It was scratchy. It was grainy. Particularly some of the darker sequences in the film were very scratchy and very grainy. Arrow has done a phenomenal job restoring the movie. It looks great. It sounds great. The audio quality, again, I'd give a 4 or a 4.5 out of 5 to picture quality and the sound quality are both great on this release. As far as extras are concerned, first up, we have Basket Case 3.5, an interview with Dwayne Bradley. This is a short film that's 8 minutes and 30 seconds in length, directed by Frank Henenlotter, in which Henenlotter interviews Dwayne Bradley, as played by Kevin Van Hentenryck, who's the actor who portrayed Dwayne Bradley in the Basket Case films, about what he and Belial and all the baby Beliles from Basket Case 3 have been up to since the events of Basket Case 3. Pretty interesting, pretty entertaining interview with Dwayne Bradley. Next up, we have Me and the Bradley Boys, an interview with star Kevin Van Hentenryck. It's 16 minutes and 24 seconds in length. Mr. Van Hentenryck discusses his first film with Frank Henenlotter, a short film entitled Slash of the Knife. He discusses having his face cast for the Belial puppet. He discusses his acting process when it came to playing Dwayne, and at times, Belial, as if the two were of the same mind, the same conscience, etc. He discusses working with the co-stars of Basket Case. He remembers hunting for props for the film by basically dumpster diving, looking through garbage for props. If they needed a door, they just drive around looking through garbage to find a door. If they needed whatever they needed, they dumpster dived or dumpster dove for it. That's that's working with no money. He discusses running naked through the streets of New York City in February and describes that as not being the best experience. He discusses the film's success and popularity. Very nice interview with Mr. Van Hentenryck. Next up, we have a brief interview with director Frank Henenlotter. It's 3 minutes and 50 seconds in length. It is described on the Arrow release as quote-unquote a strange interview with the Basket Case director. It's actually an interview with a naked man who is not Frank Henenlotter about the making of Basket Case. I wish I hadn't seen that extra. I could have gone my entire life without watching this 3 minutes and 50 seconds, particularly the last 5 or 10 seconds of this extra. Next up, we have Seeing Double, the Basket Case Twins. It's 8 minutes and 55 seconds in length. It's a brand new interview with Florence and Mary Ellen Schultz, the twin nurses from Basket Case. They are actually Frank Henenlotter's cousins, and they discuss growing up with him and how he had a theater set up downstairs in his home as a kid, where he screened for them horror films. They discuss being recognized at the McDonald's drive-thru for their work in Basket Case. They discuss Henenlotter's early work, including a claymation film about an evil hamburger. Sounds interesting. Nice interview with Florence and Mary Ellen Schultz. Next up, we have Blood, Basket, and Beyond, a brand new interview with Beverly Bonner at 6 minutes and 4 seconds in length. Ms. Bonner discusses first meeting Frank Henenlotter. She discusses the movie being fun, Basket Case that is, being fun, with lots of long shooting days, lots of screaming, but still plenty of fun. She discusses working with Frank Henenlotter. She discusses the popularity of the film and meeting fans at conventions. Nice but brief interview with Ms. Bonner. Next up, we have the Latvia Connection. It's 27 minutes and 33 minutes in length. It's a brand new featurette, including interviews with producer Edgar Ivan, special effects artist Ugis Nagals, and Belial performer Kika Nagals. They all discuss meeting Frank Henenlotter, watching lots of horror movies, up to 4 or 6 a day with Henenlotter. They discuss raising money for the film and how asking people to give money for a movie about a guy who carries his brother around in a basket wasn't an easy sell. Imagine that. They discuss casting the film, shooting the apartment scenes in a loft, and building all those sets in the loft. They discuss dumpster diving for props, long hours on the set, running out of money halfway through the shoot. They also discuss the editing process and how William Lustig actually helped them get the film distribution. They discuss the basket case sequels, the film's cult status, and more. Very nice featurette here, very nice interviews here on this extra. Next up, we have Belial Goes to the Drive-In. It's 6 minutes and 55 seconds in length. It is a brand new interview with legendary film critic Joe Bob Briggs. Joe Bob Briggs recalls first seeing Basket Case at the Cannes Film Festival of all places, but it didn't get a distributor while there, so Joe Bob wanted to premiere the film in Dallas at a drive-in. Briggs recalls that at the time, the media didn't cover genre and exploitation cinema as they do today, so fanfare for Basket Case was slow going. Briggs calls Basket Case his second favorite drive-in movie of all time, second only to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Very nice interview with Mr. Briggs. A little brief, but any Briggs is good Briggs. Next up, we have Basket Case at the Museum of Modern Art. It's 37 minutes and 12 seconds in length. It is a 2017 Q&A at the Basket Case restoration premiere at the Museum of Modern Art with Frank Henenlotter, Kevin Van Hentenryck, Beverly Bonner, Mary Ellen and Florence Schultz, and Eugis Nagals. Very nice Q&A with primarily Frank Henenlotter about Basket Case, about the film, the making of the film, the restoration, etc., etc. Very nice featurette here. Next up, we have What's in the Basket, a feature-length documentary about the making of all three Basket Case movies. It's 1 hour, 18 minutes, and 41 seconds in length. It includes interviews with Frank Henenlotter, Edgar Ivans, Kevin Van Hentenryck, Beverly Bonner, Kevin Haney, Gabe Bartalos, Annie Ross, James Glickenhaus, Scooter McCrae, Robert Miller, and more. Basically everything and anything you could possibly want to know about the making of all three Basket Case movies is explored here on this feature-length documentary. If you are a fan of Basket Case or any of the Basket Case movies, this feature-length documentary would make the price of the Blu-ray set worth it alone. Now, I don't know if this was a brand new documentary or if this documentary was featured on a prior release or not. But it is a very good, very informative, very in-depth making of documentary for all three Basket Case movies. Next up, we have In Search of the Hotel Broslin. It's 16 minutes and 8 seconds in length. It's an archival featurette from 2001 with Frank Henenlotter and rapper R.A. the Ragged Man Thorborn. Henenlotter and the Ragged Man toured the exterior where they used for the Hotel Breslin in the film, the bar scene, the basement scenes, which that location is now an S&M club in New York, and we get to see how one of the Belial puppets from the first film is holding up today. Spoiler, it's not holding up well, along with a baby Belial from part 3. Next up, we have 6 minutes and 13 seconds of Basket Case outtakes. We have the Frisian of Vision, a brand new video essay by Travis Crawford about Basket Case. It's 23 minutes and 3 seconds in length. Mr. Crawford discusses films like Basket Case, Sisters, Dead Ringers, Freaks, and more, and how conjoined twins and people with physical deformities have been portrayed in film. Very nice video essay, I should say, here with Mr. Crawford. We get image galleries, we get promo gallery, we get the Slash of the Knife, the rare 30-minute and 13-second short film by Henenlotter, which was shown only once to an appalled audience. It's a short film about the horrors of being uncircumcised. And I can understand why it would have appalled audiences. It comes with a commentary of its own with Henenlotter, outtakes, and an image gallery. Next up, we have Beliles Dream. It's 4 minutes and 49 seconds in length. It is a Basket Case-inspired animated short by filmmaker Robert Morgan, and it is really cool. It's really well done. This extra comes with its own making of as well. We get 2 audio commentaries for the film. We get an audio commentary with Frank Henenlotter and Kevin Van Hentenryck, and we get an archival commentary with cast and crew. I watched about 40 to 45 minutes of the film with the audio commentary with Frank Henenlotter and Kevin Van Hentenryck. They discuss shooting the film in downtown New York on 42nd Street. They discuss the difficulty of raising funds for the film. They discuss building the sets, and they just had like a big loft, and so they built the apartment set inside that loft. They discuss dumpster diving for props and a lot more. The 40 to 45 minutes of commentary that I listened to for the film from Mr. Henenlotter and Mr. Van Hentenryck were pretty darn entertaining and insightful. Pretty fun commentary. I cannot tell you anything about the packaging for this release or any of the accoutrements that may come with the packaging. I was sent a check disc for the film by Arrow for the purposes of this review. However, I can tell you that this Blu-ray, this limited edition Blu-ray release for Basket Case is absolutely loaded with extras. The picture quality and the sound quality on this release are both fantastic. If you are a fan of Basket Case, you definitely want to look into picking up this limited edition Blu-ray release and adding it to your collection. If you've not seen Basket Case, I recommend it. This Blu-ray would be a fantastic way to introduce yourself to the film. I highly recommend it. Like I said, Arrow has absolutely rolled out the red carpet for Basket Case here. There's a lot of extras on here from prior releases that they've ported over. Some really nice new extras on here for you to sink your teeth into. And again, top-notch picture quality and sound quality from Arrow Video. I'll put a link to Arrow's website in the description. Go over and check them out. If you've seen Basket Case, please let me know your thoughts on it down in the comment section below. Please let me know what your favorite Frank Henenlotter film is overall down in the comments section below. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. They're also right here. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace. Join the $1 a month club and help support my channel on Patreon. Thank you to my current patrons: Orc145626, Derek Jana, Richard Mead, Jeremiah Lambert, Craig Farrand, Farron Sutton, B-Movie Mike, Robert Sobel, Turi Delamore, and Johnny Yeager. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.